Hello, kababayans. I'm Melody Mojica, your Consular Matters host, exclusively on Philam TV Network. As most of you know by now, Consular Matters is a program which informs, educates, and updates Filipinos in America on news, events, and advisories affecting all Filipinos, whether you're a visitor, student, trainee, worker, green card holder, or dual citizen currently staying in America. Best part is that the person sharing the information is not me or any other person, but someone from the Philippine Consul General's office. So you can rest assured that it's official. This week, I am honored to have Deputy Consul General Ambrosio Enciso in Los Angeles join us for this episode. We will be wrapping up season 2 and going over some of the major points that was discussed in previous episodes. When Consular Matters comes back, I will be joined by DCG Ambo. Don't go away. I'm Melody Mojica, and we are back here with Consular Matters. It is the last episode of season 2. And of course, joining us is one of my original guests and co-hosts. He is DCG, Deputy Consul General Ambrosio Enciso of the Philippine Consul General's office in Los Angeles. Welcome, DCG, and salamat.
Hi, Melody. Hi sa ating mga tagapanood, tagapakinig. And when you said season 2 ender, I'm like, oh my God, we've done 2 seasons together. And I just feel so great. I feel so blessed that we have been doing this. Kaya nga to everyone behind the channel, to everyone behind the program, kasama si Mr. Carlos Magno. Thank you very, very much for giving us the opportunity to have 2 seasons and hopefully more in the coming months. Pero hello, kamusta, Melody?
Oh, you're very welcome. Yes, and we are very, very fortunate as well that you have joined us. And Consul General or Deputy or Consul General Edgar Badajos has actually agreed, and we're joining together to be able to give our kababayans and our viewers many information that you want to disseminate to our viewers out there, mga Filipino Americans and Filipinos alike here in the United States in your jurisdiction. And I'm sure it goes way beyond that. So
Yes.
We're very, very proud to be partners with you on this venture here with Consular Matters. And I'm really glad I am learning a lot as the host as well. So,
Yes.
there's a lot of things that I never knew. So of course, DCG, I was going to ask you, one of the things that I have always noticed, and we never really brought this up, is your background. It says 75th anniversary. It says U.S. diplomatic relations. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Okay, so we celebrated starting 2021 until 2022. It's a 1-year celebration. So we're now in 2022. We started Consular Matters in 2021. And at the time, yeah, I think I already had this background. I won't have it for much longer, but so the 75th anniversary of the establishment of relations between the Philippines and the United States, which actually falls on the 4th of July. If for all of us who can still remember our history lesson, after the Spanish colonization, it was the Americans' turn to come and colonize us. So we were actually under the territory of the United States, and we were up to a certain point kind of like Puerto Rico. So for those who are familiar with the situation of Puerto Rico, where it is an unincorporated territory. As for the Philippines, after the war, after World War II, the United States actually granted us full independence on the 4th of July, 1946. And that is why in 2021, we celebrated the 75th anniversary. Kasi parang when they made us independent, de facto, we became our own country, and therefore we can already have our bilateral relations with other countries. So by the act of making us an independent country, we sort of said, okay, then this is also our anniversary of having bilateral relations as a full sovereign country with the United States of America. So that's 4th of July, 1946. So starting 2021, we had our one-year celebration all the way to 2022 of the 75 years of this very rich exchange between the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America. A lot of people may not know that we are actually a treaty ally. They're talking a lot about NATO lately, and NATO is actually a treaty alliance that the United States has with a lot of European countries. I think there are more than, I think, 30 members of NATO. I'm sorry, forgive my ignorance of European matters. But in Asia, the United States doesn't have as much treaty allies, but the Philippines is actually a treaty ally of the United States. We have what is called a Mutual Defense Treaty, an MDT, which means that we have a very close relationship. Di ba kasi kapag mutual defense, it means that in times of distress, parang the United States, there will be some provisions there that would actually require the United States to come to the defense of the Philippines under certain very, very specific circumstances. But that is what a treaty does. And the United States doesn't form a treaty with just any country. And because of our shared history, it didn't start very well, during the colonial period, but eventually we became valued partners of each other, the United States and the Philippines. And as a Consulate General of the Philippines in Southern California, what a lot of our kababayan don't realize is that there is a political and economic aspect to our work. Not politics in terms of candidates, and political meaning the relations between one country and another country. And that's a good segue, because actually the second season of Consular Matters expanded way beyond what we had in season one. And I actually wanted to ask you, what was your impression overall, of the season? It wasn't just me anymore, but you saw so many other consuls and so many other attaches that actually it's like, oh my God, it's not just passport that we do.
Yeah, it was. Well, thank you, first of all, for enlightening us with that information in regards to the 75th anniversary and your background there. It was always intriguing. And I meant to ask you, and I knew probably our audience would probably be intrigued and wanting to know what that is all about as well. So that you definitely enlightened us with that information. Yes, absolutely. So in regard to season 2 and having other consuls and other attaches on board with us, and of course we love having you as the original co-host and guest of the show. We always have so much information and knowledge. And also, in regards to having other consuls, it really does show that everyone in the Philippine Consulate General's Office of Los Angeles definitely has a very powerful position and is there to assist our kababayans. They came on, I know they're very swamped with work and they're loaded with so many things to do, but they got on and there are other things that they were able to lay out on the table, pretty much, as you would say, to where our kababayans learned even more, even myself, So the attaches, I think, were great. It's good to know that there are many other services beyond just the consulate visas and passports and dual citizen under the Consul General's office. So there's so much more subjects and topics that we want to touch upon and really expound on. I mean, we had assistance to nationals, kind of on overseas labor office, the of course, the silver registry that you always have. The recap. It just I can't even imagine. I'm like, we really need to touch more and maybe do a season on even tourism or the
Yes.
Philippine Trade
Yeah. Yeah,
Commission.
I
So
agree. I
many.
agree. Yeah, I agree. And before we end the first segment, I also just want to thank our viewers. Melody, when I was a junior officer at the Department of Foreign Affairs, I was also asked to become actually a host of a radio program on national radio for the DFA. And what I noticed is that when my topic was consular, and I wasn't with consular in Manila, I was actually with the Office of Asian and Pacific Affairs. I think I've touched on this before, no? Pero so I was actually with the political office. I dealt with our relations with other Asian countries, but since I was hosting the radio program, it was called DFA ngayon, which means the Department of Foreign Affairs now. Um, when my topic was consular, we had a lot of phone-in questions because it was a radio program. But if our topic was, for example, Philippines-American relations, Philippines-China relations, Philippines-European Union relations, walang phone-in. And I understand it's not that the fact that when we have a consular topic, people phone in. It means that even if they don't phone in, there are people who are actually listening. It's just that I understand that if the topic is consular, it really directly impacts their life. Pero to our listeners for consular matters, I really hope that you give us a chance for our other episodes that are non-consular in nature. I hope na makinig pa rin kayo, and you give your full attention because there's really a lot to learn, like what Melody has said. And I guess when we move into the second segment, we'll talk more about the things that we talked about, and probably what we can talk about more in the coming season of Consular Matters.
Absolutely, yes. Then we're gonna take a short break, DCG. So mga kababayas, don't go away. We'll be back with DCG Ambo of the Philippine Consulate General's Office to wrap up season 2. Don't go away. Hello, kababayans. Welcome back to our second segment of our last episode in season 2. And with us is our guest and original co-host, DCG Ambo of the Philippine Consulate General's Office of Los Angeles. He is helping us wrap up season 2. Hello, DCG Ambo. Salamat ulit for joining us in this next segment.
Hello, Melody. And yes, we were coming off from segment 1 of this final episode. And I just want to go back to when we were at the drawing board, when we were drawing up the episodes for season 2. And I remember I was getting the instructions from Consul General Edgar Badajos, and he was saying that he agreed with Carl. Kasi parang sabi ni Carl, we should talk about more about the other work that you do, because the Philippine Consulate General in Los Angeles, we have wait lang ha, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 attached agencies, and that's actually a major post. I want to run through them again. And we have the original 2, which is the Philippine Trade and Investment Center, or for short, we call him the Trade Attaché. We have the Philippine Department of Tourism Office in LA. or in short, we call them the tourism attaché. We have the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Los Angeles, or in short, we call them the labor attaché. And then we have the police liaison officer on the United States West Coast. It's a long title. Or we call him the police liaison officer. Because he is not actually the police attaché. The police attaché is in DC. So he has a liaison officer here in LA from the police. And then finally, we have the SSS, or the Social Security System International Representative in Los Angeles, or for short, we call her the SSS rep. So we have 5, which is actually a major. It's a major representation. Parang other embassies, for example, in DC, maybe the only one that we don't have here in LA is an agriculture attaché. And all the others we have. And we don't have a military attaché, a defense and military attaché. And otherwise, we have 5, which is really major, which underscores the importance of Los Angeles. So I want to ask you, when we come back and we make plans for a future season of Consular Matters, of all the attachés that we discussed, that we are here, that are represented here in Los Angeles and has coverage over Southern Nevada, including Las Vegas, sino yung gusto mong, whose mind do you want to pick again, to ask more questions?
Well, I think DCG that all of the attachés were just as important. And I'm sure many of our kababayans in your jurisdiction and beyond have learned so much from each one, whether it was SSS, whether it was the nationals overseas, the policing, anything like that, and the relationships that we built within the Philippines and the United States. For me, I would say right now, what would interest me more is because of the recent past closure of the Philippines would be tourism. Tourism and businesses. So Philippine trade and investment, as well as tourism, really is something I think that would entice a lot of our viewers to know what is available. I know a lot of them are already seeking to go back to the Philippines as a balikbayan, and I think it was Consul Maynard who mentioned that there are different websites where they can go to get some specials. So I would really like to promote the Philippines and travel to the Philippines. What do you think?
Well, that's a very good answer, Melody. I've never really seen it that way because, like for me, I could always go back to the Philippines anytime. But it wasn't that way for a long time. For a long time, like since 2020, since 2021, and now entering into 2022, it was just very recent when all of the restrictions were actually stripped away. And now, even if you're just a former Filipino, even though you're no longer a Filipino national, but you're a balikbayan, you can still go back now. And it wasn't like that for a long time. I know. During the time that we started Consular Matters, the Philippines was actually closed, like you said, and you're right. And I'm sure our trade attaché, our tourism office, like I said, and our trade office, they are the 2 original attachés that we had. The other attachés, labor, police, and SSS, were added, I think, in late 2018 or early 2019. If I'm not mistaken. But the original 2 that have always been here for a long, long time now is trade and tourism. And I'm sure we'll have them back. And you're right, the Philippines, I think tourism contributes a major percentage of our GDP, of the Philippine income, of the Philippine gross domestic product. And it's not just from balikbayans, Filipinos, kasi like a lot of Asians, we like coming home to our home countries, and that generates a lot of tourism dollars. But we also want the tourism dollars from the actual people who would visit the Philippines, not just because they are Filipino and they have kamag-anaks in the Philippines, right? We want our American friends, our European friends, our other Asian friends to visit the Philippines because it is truly a magical, beautiful place with great food and great people. Tama?
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. But for me, with my personal choice, kung meron man na parang you could interview again and to expound, is assistance to nationals. Assistance to nationals, because we have a labor attaché, but the labor attaché is actually for Filipino nationals who are actually here as contract workers. You know, it's like the traditional labor attaché role that we have in the Middle East kasi maraming OFW doon. Now, in the United States of America, I know that a lot of our kababayan here start as OFWs, maybe contract workers, but kasi in the United States, there's a very, very big percentage, almost 100%, that would eventually migrate, right? So then they stop becoming overseas workers. But if they are still a Filipino national, no, halimbawa, if they're just a green card holder, there are still services that we can give them just in case. And this is actually the heartbreaking part of our work. When you are in trouble with the law, when you are in trouble, you're being sued, or you're a victim of domestic violence, and you're not yet an American citizen, you are still actually fully a citizen of the Philippines, there are actually help that we could provide to you. If you want to go home na lang in the Philippines, as wala kang pamasahe pa uwi, if you fit the bill, if you fit the profile na pwede naming gastusan, the Philippine government can actually pay for your ticket going home to the Philippines. But this is only for those who are still, kaya it's called assistance to nationals. Kasi the word nationals, they refer to Filipino nationals. And I think this is one that's not very much explored. Kasi nga a lot of our kababayan here are mostly migrants, mostly citizens, mostly dual, which they're no longer covered by assistance to nationals. But I know that you know that everybody knows that there are still a sizable number of Filipinos here who are not U.S. citizens yet, right?
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. Before we end this final segment,
yes.
this final episode of season 2, DCG, can you give us some final words, your thoughts and final words? What would you like to tell our kababayans out there?
So the Philippine Consulate General in Los Angeles has jurisdiction. Here we have the smallest jurisdiction in terms of land. So it's just Southern California, 10 counties, Southern Nevada, 2 counties, and all of the counties of the state of Arizona. So shout out to all of our people there in our jurisdiction. But we have the largest in terms of people. And that's why the demand for consular services of the Philippine Consulate General in LA is ganun na lang. It's really large. And I know that we will never get a very, very good rating on Google, a very, very good rating on Facebook. And that's because our capacity to serve the 1.4 million Filipinos it's really beyond capacity. But we under the leadership of our Consul General, Ed Badajos, we always try to improve. We always try to inform you. And I think one of your most important weapon to get a good experience at the consulate is to be informed. Listen to Consular Matters. And as a companion to your listening to Consular Matters, read our website. Read our website. Just Google it. Philippine Consulate General in Los Angeles. If you Google it, the first search result will be our official website. Read first. Like I always tell you, Melody, kapag pupunta nga tayo sa restaurant, ginugoogle natin kung... Right? So how much more when you have to go to a government agency where you have a lot of requirements, you have to drive all the way from Nevada to Southern California. You have to be armed with information. Read our website. Follow us on Facebook. Philippines in Los Angeles. That's our official Facebook page. Follow us to get announcements, especially if we are coming to a consular outreach mission to a city near you. And that's my best advice to our kababayan. Be armed with information, and it will be easier for you to get a transaction with the Consulate General, to get an appointment with the Consular General, and be informed about our latest programs and our latest activities.
Maraming salamat to
Salamat.
you for joining us always. We hope to see you again.
Seasons!
Yes.
Congrats!
Oh my gosh, thank you so
Congrats to
much
us.
with your help. We're
Yes.
definitely having a successful season. We have many viewers. We have a lot of Q&A. I forgot to mention how much our viewers love our Q&A. So we are getting a bunch of questions sent in to us. So thank you for addressing those. And again,
Yes.
kababayans, we hope you join us. Keep watching all of the other past episodes of Consular Matters, and join us again for our upcoming season 3. We hope to see you then. I am so glad I'm producing this program. For the longest time, being Filipino was not top of mind. I didn't realize there's so many benefits of becoming a citizen of two nations, even better than learning two languages. I hope you've learned something valuable just like I did, and it's straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Thank you so much, DCG Ambo, for joining us to wrap up this season 2 of this episode. And of course, I also want to thank Consul General Edgar Badajos in Los Angeles for supporting Consular Matters, and to all of your staff for their dedication in providing professional services to Filipinos in America, whether or not they are residing in your area of responsibility. Please join me again on upcoming seasons of Consular Matters. I'm your host, Melody Mojica. God bless and mabuhay.